Look at that. That was clean that time. Come on, give it up.
Have you been experimenting between shows?
No. I've been really busy. I forgot we were doing this. Welcome to Stupid for Movies. Today we're going to do a review of Turning Red, Pixar's new Disney/Pixar's new, I guess, film, even though it's officially, I guess we still call it film, right? Movie.
It's still a movie, no matter where it plays. Yeah.
Feature, movie, film, but it seems like it's premiering on Disney Plus, not in the theaters, correct?
Yes, which is a very strange choice to me because I don't know how much is out there right now for kids. I think this could have made a lot of money in theaters.
Interesting. Maybe, but it's possible that although the pandemic is sort of finally winding down, I think there might be parents who are still a little nervous to take their youngins out, as opposed to plopping them down in front of the couch, going into the back room and having sex, and then coming back in like 90 minutes, or in my case, 5 minutes. And then
parents don't have sex anymore. I have to tell you that.
during a Disney Pixar film, you think they put the kids in front of the TV so they can go have sex?
Yes.
I feel like that's not the case.
Well, the beauty of Pixar is that it appeals to adults as well. So you actually want to sit through this one.
Oh, you don't. So you're saying if you're an adult, you don't want to have sex during this movie?
Probably not. Given the choice between sex and a Pixar movie, I'd probably choose Pixar.
Yeah, this review went very strangely already. Let's get into it. How did you feel, Jenelle? Why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, it's actually appropriate that things got weird fast because Turning Red is, on the surface, it's about a 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian girl named May who basically finds out that when she loses control of her feelings, she turns into a big red panda. Not metaphorically, she actually turns into a panda. It's a symbol of her Chinese ancestors. That's what it's about on the surface, but the whole film is actually a metaphor for puberty. They address menstruation, they address hormones. There's a boy band that she and her friends, get very excited about. It's stuff I don't know that I've actually ever seen in a Pixar/children's movie before.
It is pretty rare to have any movie targeted to that age have to do with menstruation, let alone and getting a period, let alone a Pixar film. And I think the film absolutely nails it. I think it's interesting that it's the first feature solely directed by a woman, as it should be. It does a lot of things right, not just the metaphor of puberty and whatnot in terms of young girls, which I think it does with a lot of humor and subtlety, and there's nothing that could ever offend anybody if they watch this. I defy anybody to be offended by this film, but I also like what it got right about the setting. It takes place in the early aughts in Toronto, in the Chinese community up there in Toronto, and so that was kind of interesting because that opens up a lot of opportunity for culturally specific details that you would normally see if it took place either in the States or in just some unnamed city. I like the fact that it opens it up to make fun of things like Tamagotchi and boy bands. I know in part of the film, I thought this was okay, where a lot of the film has to do with the main character and her friends trying to get into this boy band concert, right? And by the way, the boy band songs were written by Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, and they're terrific. I'm not a huge fan of Billie Eilish because I don't like being depressed all the time. I'm depressed enough on my own. But the songs are terrific. But a lot of the movie has to do with the main character and her friends trying to get into this boy band. So there's a lot to mine in terms of the Canadian location and the time that it takes place, above and beyond the obvious, which is that it's a metaphor for a woman going through the changes.
Yeah, and it's done in very clever ways. They use certain metaphors when the mother is voiced by the great Sandra Oh, and she thinks her daughter is having her period when she's actually turning into a panda. And she rattles off some, hilarious metaphors for the condition that gave me a good laugh. It's very funny. It's very clever. I have to say, shortly after watching it, maybe like a couple days later, I wouldn't say I had forgotten it. It didn't stick with me the way like the great epic Pixar movies do. However, I liked it a lot more than Soul, which was Pixar's last effort, which won the Academy Award, which I never really did connect to in a weird way.
Now, what did you not connect?
I don't know. I just thought too much was going on. It became a body swap movie. It was like supposed to be for kids, but like it's dealing with people in heaven. And this is going to sound so silly because I know it's a fantasy and a kids movie, but so many plot holes in Soul that just like didn't work for me. Now this is even more fantastical. You know, she's turning into a panda, and I like the matter of factness about it. Like, she doesn't really, at a certain point, she stops hiding it, and people kind of know that she's the panda girl, and they figure out how to make money off of it. And I just thought that was really clever. It's something I hadn't seen before. I love the female friendships in this movie. You very rarely get to see that. And I don't want to give too much away, but it took a turn at the end that I think is a little bit unexpected, where you know what? I just don't want to give anything away, but this movie surprised me, continued to surprise me up through the end.
I mean, towards the beginning, did you think to yourself, is this going to be like the Incredible Hulk, except with the panda?
Yeah,
Every
that's
time
exactly
she has
what
these emotions, she turns into a gigantic monster.
I thought the entire movie was going to be her trying to hide it from people, including her family. But I don't think it's too spoilery to say that her family is aware pretty early on of what's going on. And again, there was a matter of factness about that I really liked.
And we talked before about the Marvel films, how the Pixar scripts are surprisingly clever, whereas you're right, in a lesser film, the whole story would be her trying to hide it from her parents. And then at the end of the second act, the parents find out and everyone freaks out. Here, the parents find out like 15 minutes in. Right?
Not only do they
it's a very
find out,
small part of the story, which is great.
yeah, I really appreciated that. And also, I mean, I just have to say, from a representation angle, I remember seeing Up, and there was a moment where I realized that Russell, the little boy, was at least partially, was Asian, was of Asian descent. And what that meant to me and like my family to see that representation on screen, this, you really get, you know, it is a Chinese Canadian family, but they are also universal in that, like, I think a lot of people are going to relate to this family, regardless of where you're from. Another thing that Pixar does really well, they can make the very specific feel very universal. And it was really cool to see.
So I know that that Mike wanted to sort of foster some conflict between the two of us to make the show more interesting. But the fact is that I'm sorry, it's charming, it's upbeat, it's cute, it goes places where Pixar films have not gone before, and they do it in just a terrific way. And even someone like the music by Billie Eilish, she did the songs, even that was fine. Really have no problem with Turning Red. I'm sorry, Mike, we failed you.
That's not what I said. The note was, people want to understand what kind of movies Mark likes, what kind of movies Jenelle like. I go, if you guys don't
Good
agree,
movies.
certainly say that.
I just like good movies.
Yeah.
I will say, in the pantheon of Pixar films, where does this rank for you?
Not all that high. I think what's interesting is that when Pixar came out, they had a run. I mean, we're talking like, remember how Rob Reiner had that run of like, 7 or 8 amazing films with Spinal Tap all the way through to Princess Bride and whatnot. Pixar had a similar run where every Pixar film was absolutely fantastic. And then they started to kind of falter a little bit, which is inevitable. So now you're sort of in that moment where, okay, if something like Turning Red, which is terrific, there's nothing wrong with it. In the end, especially when there's so many Pixar films now, it sort of comes in the 70th percentile.
Sure. I mean, all Pixar movies are great except for Cars. So it's like Cars down here.
Cars was the one that made people think, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I guess they can feel. I even like The Good Dinosaur, I know.
The Good Dinosaur sucked. The Good Dinosaur, I stopped watching after like 10 minutes.
I always actually forget it's a Pixar film, which probably says a lot. But they've never really made, again, with the exception of the Cars movies, a bad movie. Although you would say Good Dinosaur. And so, like, even saying that it's like lower level Pixar, I mean that as a compliment. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Toy Story, Toy Story 2, even Toy Story 3, they actually nailed it. I was surprised. And Toy Story 4,
4 is great. Yeah.
They're all terrific. The Incredibles was great. Finding Nemo, Cars was okay. WALL-E was great. The LA Film Critics, we actually gave WALL-E a lot of awards that year. Actually, we gave it Best Picture.
And as deserved. I have to admit, I am not the biggest fan of The Incredibles, believe it or not.
Because?
It's been so long since I've seen the original. It would be like, I love the idea of it. I just feel like I've maybe seen it done before and done a little more cleverly. There's also this sadness that permeates it, which I know is intentional, but it just, I just remember like leaving it and being really kind of like worn out. But I'm weird. Like my favorites are A Bug's Life, which I don't think is anybody's favorite, and Up, which is also very sad for the first 10 minutes. So
of course, that montage of him growing older or whatever it is that won Michael Giacchino an Oscar. That one little, less than 10-minute piece of music, I think won him the Oscar.
oh, absolutely. It's so good. So yeah, and then like the movies that everybody loves, like The Incredibles and the Toy Story ones, are like ranked a little lower for me. Although weirdly, I love Toy Story 4.
I don't think that's weird. I think Toy Story 4 is terrific. I think, people, the thing with Pixar, that it took them a while to do a sequel, right? So when they finally did a sequel, you thought, oh, now they're just going to slip into the same thing that all the other studios do. They'll just crank out sequels. But the sequel wound up being Toy Story 2, which was great. Now, if you look at something like Cars 2, Cars 2 has the lowest Rotten Tomato score of any Pixar film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Cars 2 is a total dud. But there was the worry that once Pixar got into the sequel business, that the burnish would be off the company. But I don't think that's true at all. And we can prove it because you love Toy Story 4, and so did I.
Ooh, yeah. Well, it also has a creepy dummy in it, which will always, a literal dummy, ventriloquist dummy, which will always score points with me.
By the way, Lightyear, which if you haven't checked out the trailer for Lightyear, it's out there. It came out a little while ago. That looks good too.
Yeah, it looks really good. And it's interesting though to have Buzz Lightyear have Chris Evans's voice when isn't Tim Allen right there?
Maybe they couldn't afford him. Maybe they figured they would go younger because he is Captain America.
I thought there was some kind of a issue with Tim Allen.
I wondered, but I wasn't sure.
That there was some kind of political issue or something. Beatmaster does ask, where's Ratatouille on the ranking for you both?
Oh, I love Ratatouille. Ratatouille is great. Who doesn't like that movie? Who?
Well, I really like Ratatouille, but for me, the entire movie, I wish the movie had been about Anton Ego. I love that character, and the moment where he eats the ratatouille and it flashes back to his childhood. Those are all my favorite moments. Ratatouille is right in the middle for me, I would say. I probably enjoyed Turning Red more than Ratatouille, but I would say Ratatouille is a better movie.
Really, that's quite controversial. Ratatouille is great, but the Anton Ego character obviously was a knock at film critics and critics in general. Last name Ego, so that's probably why people like me and other critics, yourself, enjoy that character because they were kind of needling us in a way.
Yeah.
But it's cute. I thought the movie a lot.
All right, so Turning Red, you'd recommend parents watching it with your kids this weekend? It sounds like on Disney Plus. You both said it was fine, essentially.
I think I would be uncomfortable if I was a kid watching this with my parents.
Okay, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
So parents should leave the room.
You can watch it as a family. It's just some of the hornier stuff might go over kids' heads, and you might be sitting there laughing for other reasons.
All right.
I'm not going to say that because I'll just be accused of mansplaining. I'm not a girl, as much as I like to be one.
If you're not a girl, can you still watch this movie and maybe learn something?
Yes, I think you will have a very good time.
There you go.
I'm not a girl. I watch it.
See, because look, when I went to school, they had sex ed, but they split us up. They split the boys and girls up. So, so we didn't know anything about any of this stuff. We never learned it, which seemed a little stupid to me. You kind of want to understand things.
Well, that's how we were in the dark ages, I guess.
Yeah, back when I was a kid. All right, so there you go, everybody. That wraps up our review for today. Right? What's next? You guys got anything you're seeing next that we should know about, or is just going to come up?
What's the big stuff coming up? I don't even know.
Not much. I just saw The Outfit, which is the Mark Rylance little chamber drama, which is, I don't know, we're going to talk about that as a show. But the next thing could be the Oscars. I don't know. What do you think?
That's right. We have the Oscars coming up in 2-3 weeks.
All right. So we should try next week for some kind of pre-Oscar special. What are we gonna do? We're gonna pick. You guys are gonna give your picks. Is that what we're gonna do?
I'm happy to give my picks. I'm just letting everybody know that I'm horrible at all competitive games. Everything.
All right, so it's not
video games, softball, backgammon, bingo, Super Bowl pools.
What what is the Oscar show then? We've already done an Oscar show, but you've said you wanted to do an Oscar show twice now. What is the Oscar show?
We could do predictions. I just don't want anyone betting money on anything I say.
Right. We're not going to have, it's not a, Beatmaster wants to know if we will do a live Oscar commentary. That seems like a bad idea.
I don't think I think I might be working, honestly.
Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll do an idea though. Actually, Beatmaster, would you like to help produce the show? Because Mike's very busy.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure he can.
Beatmaster, if you can make that happen, you're in. All right, guys. Well, thanks for the review. We will hopefully see another movie soon and put the next review up when we get that one. Whatever you guys are seeing next, you'll figure it out. Once the Oscars are done, right? Maybe there's just too much stuff going on right now pre-Oscar for Jenelle, I'm guessing, right?
It's a little quiet right now because voting opens on the 17th, but then I expect it to be crazy.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Hold on. I'm going to wait. I got to go to the end thing. Hold on. You ready? Okay. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Bye.